In this video, I will show you how to set up an experiment and analyze MLPA data in Coffalizer.net for copy number determination. First, we open the organization and project to which the experiment has to be added. Depending on your demands and situation, you may wish to add a new organization or project first. When you add a new organization, keep in mind that you also have to add a CE device to this organization. For instructions, please refer to the Coffalizer.net reference manual or knowledge base on the support portal. Now right-click on Experiments and select Add Experiment. Then, we enter a title for the experiment in the designated field. I recommend giving your experiment logical names, so you can easily retrieve them later on. Check if the correct CE device is pre-selected. If not, you can pick the correct device from the drop-down list. Click OK to continue. In the Details tab of the experiment form, we can configure our experiment. First, we select the experiment type from the upper drop-down menu. For copy number analysis, this is DNA MLPA. Based on the selected CE device, Coffalizer.net predicts which dye channels contain the MLPA amplicons and size standard. If needed, you can overrule this by selecting the correct type from the drop-down menus in the column Channel Type. In our experiment, the correct dye channels were already set, so we can now select the required Coffalizer sheet by opening the sheet library via this button and picking the correct sheet from the list. If the appropriate sheet is not listed yet, you first have to add it to the sheet library. Please see the reference manual or the knowledge base if you don't know how to do this. Next, we select the size standard that we used in the electrophoresis from the drop-down menu. Now that everything is set in the tab Details, we can proceed to the tab Fragment Analysis. Here, we can import the raw data files into the experiment by right-clicking on the form and selecting Add from File from the context menu. After navigating to the location of the files, we select them all and click Open. After the import has finished, click OK and Close to proceed. The next step is defining the sample types. You can set the sample type for a sample by clicking in the column Sample Type, expanding the list and selecting the appropriate sample type. An alternative method is to select a sample in the column Sample Type and then press the appropriate keyboard shortcut. It is also possible to let Coffalizer.net assign all samples in one click, which is especially useful when running a large number of samples. For more information, see the knowledge base. Now that the sample types have been defined, we can click the Start Fragment Analysis button. We leave all settings on default and start the actual analysis by clicking OK. It is mandatory to create a manual bin set based on your data and use this during fragment analysis. More about this can be found in the Coffalizer.net reference manual or in the knowledge base. In this case, I have already created a manual bin set which can be applied to our data. To do so, we need to click the Start Fragment Analysis button once again. Now check if the probe recognition method is set to manual. Otherwise, select it from the drop-down menu and click OK. As you can see, several quality scores have been determined. Of these, the FRSS and FMRS are the most important. The FRSS indicates the quality of the electrophoresis, and the FMRS is a measure for the quality of the MLPA experiment itself. Only samples with 4 green bars for both of these quality scores should be used for further analysis. You can open any sample that does not show 4 green bars by right-clicking on the sample and selecting Open. You can then investigate the peak pattern in order to determine why it has a lower score. You can use the MLPA troubleshooting wizard to assist you with this. We can continue the analysis by navigating to the tab Comparative Analysis. Here, we select which samples should be included in the analysis. You can do this manually, but Coffeealyzer.net also enables you to easily select samples with a certain fMRS score at once. Right-click in the experiment form, navigate to the submenu Select Samples for Analysis and pick a fMRS score from the list. Now that the samples have been selected, click the button Start Comparative Analysis. Again, all settings should be left at their default values. Click OK to proceed. Once finished, Coffeealyzer.net displays the quality scores related to the comparative analysis. The CAS score is the most important one, as it indicates the quality of the data normalization. Only the results of samples with a CAS score of 4 green bars can reliably be interpreted. We can now take a look at the results. To do so, right-click in the experiment form and select Open Experiment Results from the context menu. This opens a window with a grid showing the results of all samples. To examine the results of a particular sample in more detail, right-click on it and select Open Sample Results. You can view the results of other samples by scrolling through the list on the left side of the screen. A PDF report can be created from the tab Sample Report. Right-click in the grid and select Create PDF Report. To generate reports of all samples at once, select Create PDF Reports All Samples. For now, we will make a report of the selected sample only. Navigate to the location where you want to save the report and click Save. Consult the most recent product description and the MLPA General Protocol for DNA detection and quantification of DNA sequences for interpretation of the results. In addition, see the Coffeealyzer.net reference manual and the applicable e-learning module for more information about the display of results in Coffeealyzer.net and interpretation. Close the sample and experiment results to return to the experiment form. Click Save and Close to save the experiment and the analysis results.